If you could bottle the Arizona landscape, the sun, the dust, and all of that, what would it taste like? Well, we're going to find out today because we have Mark with Whiskey Del Bac, and you guys don't even understand how excited I am for this episode. He's graciously sent over some samples. You know we're dipping into those. And we're going to talk everything Whiskey Del Bac. We're going to talk everything Mark. And we're going to just have a chat about cool whiskey with cool friends hanging out. And without further ado, here's Mark. How's it going?
It is going so well. Thank you so much for bringing me on. And I'm so glad we were able to make it work. I'm among the worst in syncing up. So
it's all good. It's all good. You were gracious enough to send over a couple of samples, and I want to get into one right now because that's part of the podcast, right? We talk about whiskey, but we also drink it. So you were gracious enough to send over the Sentinel, the Sentinel Rye. And I do know about this one, but for the audience who might not know, why don't you give us a little background on it? Because this is not your normal profile, is it?
No, and so I'm actually really excited. I feel like this is one of the only times I've done one of these where we start with the rye.
Okay, cool.
So the rye is the first time Whiskey Del Bac has ever strayed away from 100% own make American single malt whiskey. Beautiful. The issue we always ran into, so obviously we're known for our single malts. We're known for our mesquite smoked single malts. But the question we just kept getting over the course of over a decade, when are you making a bourbon? When are you making a rye? And if you're familiar at all with how single malt production tends to work, it's a completely different process. So we are set up for off-grain fermentation, off-grain distillation. If we wanted to make rye, if we wanted to make bourbon, we would have to get a brand new mill, brand new mash tun, basically just really completely change how we've been doing things. And at the same time, we had bartenders that were like, hey, we love your single malt. It's really expensive to mix with. And so it was kind of this perfect storm of, well, if we're going to do a rye, we are going to have to source it. We know we want to be transparent, but we also know we want to make something that is unique. And so we tasted through, I tasted through hundreds of ryes over the course of 6-7 months. It's a really tough job.
Yeah, sounds like it.
The joke I always make was we had a bunch of really good rye that was way too expensive, and we had a bunch of really bad rye that was way too expensive. And we ended up settling on the 95.5 that everybody goes with. It's
right.
MGP makes a good rye. It's consistent. It's high quality. And it was the right price point. But again, we didn't want to just slap our label on it. Be like, guess what? We made a rye and it's the same rye everyone else has. And so, you start thinking as a distiller and as a blender, what can we do to make this unique? And first thought is finishing. So we're known for our Dorado. We're known for our mesquite smoked single malt. What if we take this rye, we put it into the barrels that held the Dorado, and we call it good? And so I got my hands on a couple of barrels. We put it down on our own barrels, and it was fine. There was a little bit of nuance to it, but it was very clear you were drinking Indiana rye.
Right.
And I have long maintained, I never have any good ideas on my own. I steal everyone else's. And so you think, what do you do in whiskey production? We looked at the Lincoln County process in Tennessee whiskey. They are taking their new make, filtering it over sugar maple charcoal. Well, we malt our own mesquited malt at the distillery. I'm producing a ton of charcoal from mesquite wood. What happens if we take that finished whiskey and we filter it across that mesquite charcoal, and it just changed it. It changed the mouthfeel. It changed the nose. And so that became Sentinel. Or Sentinel of the Desert Rye. And so there's that little hint of mesquite. It is still clearly a 95.5 rye, but it is just a little bit more nuanced. And you can get a little more of that desert Southwest flavor in it. And it holds up really well in cocktails.
Oh, I'm sure. Now, as you were talking, I was nosing most of it, and I just now took a sip of it. And yeah, it definitely still has that profile of the 95.5. But it's softened. The edges are knocked off, but then it has that little tinge, and it might be psychosomatic or whatever, but it's just that little tinge of a smoky background, like it, but not even smoky. It's like somebody has a fire close to you. It's not even, you're not even getting the smoke. It's just the essence of the smoke. And it's really intriguing. And it's coming in at 46%, correct?
Correct.
All right. So, I mean, you're giving it at a cool proof point, which I love, because then you can add a little water to it. You can add an ice ball, whatever you want. It's not going to proof it to the floor, but you're also not trying to, this is rye, and just beat you over the head with rye, which I like. Don't get me wrong. I love a good cast rye, hazmat rye or whatever, but you're not trying to showcase the rye. You're trying to showcase what you did with the rye. And that's what makes it really, really interesting for me, is you're taking a commodity, I hate to say it, a commodity product, and putting your spin on it. And that's what I love. And I know, I mean, I'm fanboying already, but I know that's going to be throughout your entire catalog, because you're just saying this is this, but we did something to it. There's so many people out there, and I've done multiple episodes and talked about this till I'm blue in the face, that are just taking stock product, putting it in a bottle and putting it on the shelf, and it's selling like wildfire, which is fine. But I would like, for me personally, if I'm going to drink a 95.5 rye, I want it to have something a little bit different. And I will agree with you. This is very much different. And the smoke on it that's there, it's very light. I could give it to this to any rye drinker and they wouldn't even know. If I didn't tell them, they probably wouldn't even know it was there. They would think it was maybe barrel char or something coming through. It's not until you actually know that it has some sort of mesquite note to it that you actually pick it up, which is really cool. Really awesome, actually. So let's go back a little bit. And what made you, the distiller, get into distilling?
Oh man. So it's the story that everyone talks about, especially within the craft space, is you fall into it. Like I've been in the booze industry 14 years. I've been distilling for 9 of those 14. And I've maybe met 2-3 people that were like, no, this is what I wanted to be. I wanted to go to school. I was going to become a distiller. I was going to make whiskey. It tends to be, man, I was really interested in this. And I went down this rabbit hole and I discovered that I could become a distiller. Like, this is an option. And, you know, I'll always give the Cliff's Notes version. So my degree's in journalism. Okay. Got my journalism degree from University of Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, and did the investigative reporting thing for a while. Like, till a lifetime ago, I was an investigative reporter, and it's tough. It's a tough gig to do. Yeah, and
sounds like it.
It lasted about a year, honestly. Ended up going back to my hometown of Dodge City, Kansas, a small town in the southwest corner of the state, and took over the daily newspaper, did that for about a year. I had just gotten married. We had a young kid. And I was like, I don't want to kill myself for this. And so left journalism, got into public relations and marketing, which is what a lot of journos do. Oh, I know how to tell a story. I'm going to get paid a living wage to tell a story now. And so ended up taking over for director of communications of a relatively large agricultural company. But at the same time, so my wife and I, when we met, we bonded over food and drink. Like, that was what brought us together, is we would cook together. We would make good cocktails. So this is 2008, 2009. Finally, the Midwest was starting to figure out that it was more than Jack and Cokes and Harvey Wallbangers. Like, you could make good cocktails with good spirits.
Right.
And so we started a cocktail program at the Live Theater where the two of us met. And for 7 years, we ran this cocktail program, and I was doing freelance writing for different magazines and publications, talking about craft spirits, talking about craft cocktails. And so, like, I had my work and then I had my passion. And, you know, the passion was around creating these stories and creating these chances for people to come together and to elevate drinking. And fast forward about 7 years, there were 3 farmers that had decided that we're going to open a distillery. We're going to take grain we grew on our farm, and 100% of everything we make is going to be using that grain that we grow. And I had been lucky enough that I'd become acquainted with a couple of them. And one day I get a call from the youngest of the 3, and he's like, hey, you know booze, ag. Would you be willing to just consult? I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, just come in and taste what we're making and be like, no, I think this tastes nice, or no, this is terrible. It's like, oh my God, yeah, that sounds amazing. And I think it was like 24 hours later, I saw they posted for a part-time distiller and a part-time events manager.
Okay.
And so I called him. Well, first I talked to my wife, so credit to my partner.
Right. Absolutely.
I was like, I'm not enjoying what I'm doing right now. Would you be okay if I pitched this idea of basically combining the positions?
Mm-hmm.
Make me your director of marketing, make me your distiller, and bring me on full time. And they took a risk on me. And so I walked away from PR and marketing.
Wow.
I always tell people, like, I had an intellectual understanding of how distillation and whiskey making works, but having an intellectual understanding and knowing how to do it, completely different.
Yeah.
And I lucked out because those farmers, Hayes Kelman, who is still the one who's like supervising and running the distillery, we were all learning together. And so like there was that chance to make those mistakes and to, I made a lot of really terrible booze at the start because you're like, yeah, I think I know how to do this. And you taste something, you go, nope, this is, and yeah, I never looked back. 6 months into it, it was just one of those, like, we'd been doing it for about 6 months. And I told my wife, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is where I want to be. And it's this beautiful marriage of art and science and the human aspect of it. Just it's why we always loved running the bar program is people come together over a good drink,
Absolutely.
If they're celebrating, if they're mourning, if it's just a chance to catch up and see people, it's just this amazing opportunity. And if you can be the thing that they come together over is humbling and amazing. And it just, I just never looked back.
Absolutely. And you shouldn't. Because we all have chapters in our life, right? And we all have parts of our life where you're like, this part for me right now is really good. And I'm thriving in this and everything's going great. But like, there's always time and there's always room for improvement and always room for like, hey, maybe I don't want to do that anymore. Maybe I want to try something else. And like for me, and this is just personally, I've been a plumber for 25 years. And so like, I've done not the same thing because obviously I do different jobs, but like I've been doing this for a long time. So it wasn't until a couple of years ago when I said, I've been into whiskey for a long time, but it wasn't until a couple of years ago when I said, my wife was literally sick of hearing me talk about whiskey all the time. So she's like, go talk to a camera or somebody about that. And so I started this and it has turned into a whole new venture. And it has actually changed the way that I do plumbing as well, because talking to you, talking to other people, talking to a screen, it is different. And it makes me, work differently because then now I know how it is to conversate with people. And of course I've taken classes on speaking and stuff like that. So it's not so much that, but it's, it just really opens you up to new things. And now it's turning into a thing that will turn into something else. And then we'll just keep going and going. So it's really cool, that you were able to, and you have a good backing in your wife to say, yeah, just do what you got to do. As long as we can be financially stable in that, we're going to be okay, and
exactly.
I mean, and nobody really talks about that. Nobody really talks about the monetary part of it. Everybody, a lot of people that I talk to, they were financially stable. They were fine. They decided to open a distillery and it's fun. It's not, I don't want to say it's play money because it's not play money, but like they have their house paid off. The kids are in college, everything's fine. And they have extra money that they can throw into a distillery. And if it does good, great. And they are, so it's like when you see somebody, it's like, I literally gave up my job to do the thing that you want me to do. So it's very commendable to do that, to just back up and say, okay, this is something new, something different. I'm jumping into it. So it's really, I really applaud you for that.
I appreciate that. And again, it makes a difference. Like you say, having a supportive partner.
Absolutely.
I decided to make that move when our son was a senior in high schoschool. He's getting ready to go off to college and I'm starting a new venture.
Yeah. Well, and that's okay. I don't know if you're a spiritual man and we're not going to get into that, but the Lord provides and he will be there and it'll happen. It'll work out however it's going to work out. And you know what, even if you fall flat on your face, you can always go back to the thing that right. And so don't worry about failing. Don't worry about it. It might suck for a little bit, but don't worry about failing and doing all the things. Just do the thing. You're never going to do the thing unless you actually go out and do the thing. So I have a question for you, and then we're going to get into our next pour. what's more temperamental, the aging of whiskey, the desert? No, what's more temperamental when aging whiskey? Sorry, in the desert, the barrel or the climate itself?
Ooh, the climate, which then in turn makes the barrel more temperamental. It's one of the things we've really leaned into. So it's interesting. We'll have people who've been making whiskey for a long time, and they'll come into the distillery and they'll be like, wait, you're not doing any climate control? You're not doing any humidity control? This is so inefficient. And you're using small format barrels. Like, your angel share must be insane. And it is. Like, we're losing 15% a year.
Oh, Lord.
It is it is not an efficient way to make whiskey, but you'll hear me say a lot, like when people talk to me, I will always say Whiskey Del Bac is a love letter to the Sonoran Desert. Like, when Stephen Paul, our co-founder, set out to make Whiskey Del Bac, he wanted to create a whiskey that was of a place. And in my mind, it's one of the reasons I was really attracted to Whiskey Del Bac and why I was really honored to come on board, was that idea of, yeah, we do have aggressive temperature swings. We do have super low humidity. It does get to 110 in the summers. And every single one of those things is completely opposite to making whiskey in Scotland or Kentucky or even in the Midwest. Like, so in Dodge was in the high plains. So like, we're in the shadow of the Rockies and very dry, very cold, very hot. But every one of those things goes into making that product what it is. And so we age everything on site. We don't have a separate rick house. So we do have a little bit of climate control. We have some coolers so that we don't die in production in the summer. Right. But it will get up into the 90s in the summer, and it will cool down into the 60s at night. And that you have that insanely aggressive push and pull. You know, you have it pushing into the wood. You have it pulling out. And it's one of the reasons we really love our cooperage. So we use barrel mill in Avon, Minnesota. Very thick staves, very well-made barrels, because we've learned if we use like a thinner stave, because of that push and pull, because of that heat, you just leak. But even then, that still happens. We just pulled a pallet the other day, and we had a barrel that was completely empty.
Oh, Lord.
First time, though. Like, I've never had that happen before, but it was just, it found that weakest point, and it burst through that wood, and that's all she wrote.
I mean, and that's part of, doing business. You're going to have what they call dead loss, right? You're going to have this, like, sorry, that happens. I mean, it sucks because you put time, money, and energy into getting into that barrel. But hey, you know what? A barrel has never been said to be completely watertight. So like, you're literally fighting windmills at that point, because it's like, what are we doing? If I wanted it air and watertight, I put it in stainless steel, right? It's like, what are we doing? So before we move on, because I have another question about what I wanted to get into, and I forgot to talk to you about, we had talked about the first whiskey, but I thought the second one should be Dorado.
Yes. Perfect choice.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about Dorado. Because I feel like it's kind of your namesake besides the classic, correct?
Correct. So our classic is our unsmoked. Interestingly enough, classic was the first thing we ever released. Stephen wanted to create a whiskey, a single malt that was of a similar quality to, say, like a Macallan 12. Okay. Plus, smoke's divisive. We wanted to have an option, but Dorado is we call it our flagship. It is what we're known for. It is our number one seller. It is just, it's part and parcel of who we are. And so it goes back to the very foundation of Whiskey Del Bac. So Stephen and his wife, Elaine, had a furniture shop here in Tucson called Arroyo Design. They specialized in mesquite furniture. And so if you're in Texas, you know mesquite. It's this very beautiful, very twisted, very gnarled tree. Yes. It's a very hard wood. It's very difficult to work with. That means when you're making furniture, you have a ton of waste. And so literally what would happen is, like, there'd be a leg from a bed or from a chair that Stephen would come home, and you toss it on the wood pile and you cook with it, you smoke with it, you put it in your fire pit. And Stephen and Elaine are big single malt drinkers. One night in, I want to say 2006, they're sitting in the backyard, and Elaine just happens to wonder out loud, hey, they use peat to dry malt in Scotland. Has anyone ever considered mesquite? And that's what set this entire adventure up. Was Stephen just got obsessed with the idea, and This is 2006. This is before we had smartphones in our pockets. This
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, no, I'm going to learn how to malt. I'm going to learn how to smoke that malt, and I'm going to learn how to make single malt. And so while the classic unsmoked was the first that came out, the Dorado was the impetus for everything. It is our bread and butter. And so it is our mesquited, not peated American single malt. And
Love that.
we've actually adjusted the recipe over the years. When we first started, it was a very aggressive, very big, very billowing smoke.
Mhm.
And over the years, we got feedback, hey, maybe pull that back a little bit. And so over the past couple of years, the Dorado, we've pulled that smoke back. We use a blend of unsmoked and mesquite smoked in-house malt. And then we actually blend a little bit of classic into it. And it has created this very beautiful, very soft, rich, smoked whiskey that it's always behind my bar at home.
Right.
And I think the best testament we had to kind of that adjusting from that really aggressive smoke was when I first started 4 years ago, our number one seller was classic and then Dorado. And for the first time ever last year, Dorado outpaced classic in sales.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, I can tell you, obviously, coming off the rye, this is night and day different. Obviously, for one, it's American single malt, so it's like it's totally different, right? You're getting that the graininess of it. You're getting like the malt. I hate to say the maltiness of it, but then also, and that's just on the nose. But then you get that the smoke. But like being from Central Texas, we're barbecue fiends out here. And there is a dividing line between people who use mesquite to smoke with and live oak to smoke with. So, and there's some people that do 50-50, some do 1 or 2 chunks of it at the end, because when you're smoking meat, it can get very acrid and it can get very like weird. But I can tell you that the smoke that's coming off of this is not acrid at all. It has a really nice balance. It's kind of barbecue-y in a way. It kind of gives you that campfire-y type smell and taste to it. And I mean, it's just one of those whiskeys where if you wanted to dip your toe into a peated Scotch or something like that, or even an Irish peated like Andalusia is doing or something like that, if you wanted to dip your toe into that, this is where you would start because it's smoky, but it's not like briny or anything like that. It's just a really nice smoke. Like if you were eating a steak or something like that, this would fit right along with you. I mean, this would pair very well. I'm all about pairing things together. So,
oh my gosh,
yeah, absolutely. So if mesquite smoke could talk, what would it say about your whiskey?
Ooh, oh wow, okay. That is, if mesquite smoke could talk, what would it say about our whiskey? This is how you put it in balance. This is how you put us in balance. This is how you put me in balance. And because you're absolutely right. Like it's one of the fun but most challenging things about the job. So again, we malt in-house. We're one of only, I think, a dozen that do that. And we mesquite it and we smoke it ourselves. And it is this fine line. And if you overdo it, acrid is exactly the right word. It becomes very sharp and it becomes very punchy and off balance. And one of the things we try to be very conscientious of is that balance.
Right.
Is being able to get that nose, get that palate and go, no, this is nuanced. It takes you on a walk. Cause you're right. Like for me, I always get that dark chocolate kind of grain right up front. And then it's the smoke that comes across the mid palate and then lasts. Like it's on that breath out that you really get it. And it's, to me, what I love about it is it's challenging and it's really easy to go above. And like, if you taste some of our smoked stuff, like right out of the barrel before we do blending or finishing, some of those really aggressively smoked ones, it'll shoot right through your skull. Like, it's just like, oh wow, liquid smoke. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I can say, like, as you were talking, I was inhaling and exhaling, and I hadn't had a drink in, a minute or at least, and you could it's still there, and that's what you want with, especially a smoky type whiskey. You want it to linger. You want it to be there. I'm sure I don't smoke cigars, but I'm sure this pairs very well with a cigar. I mean, all of the things that you want in a good whiskey you want it to linger, you want it to be present, and you also want to know that you're drinking a whiskey. I personally do not care for whiskeys that are what they call background whiskeys, which I like them. I have them. I mean, it's fine. But like, if I'm going to drink, because you got to, when you do whiskey stuff, as you well know, you have to pick and choose what you drink. Because if it becomes a job, then you end up drinking too much, and then it turns into a whole other thing. So when I drink, I pick what I'm going to drink as an experience. And so like with this is an experience, and we're just getting started, guys. Like the experience is going to get even deeper. This is the baseline, and that's what you guys need to understand. Like, you have quite a few offerings. Is that correct?
We do. Yeah. So what we consider our core are the Classic and the Dorado. The Sentinel was introduced back in 2022. But then we have what we call our Global Cask Collection, which are finishes that we release every year. But really kind of like for the super deep cuts are what we call our distiller's cuts. And I always, like, for people who are super familiar with distilling, brewing, even winemaking, it's factory work. I mean, it's amazing. Like, we make this amazing product at the end of the day, and to be able to like grab it and go, no, we made this is amazing. But you make a mess and you clean it up, and you come in the next day and you make a mess and you clean it up. And ideally, especially like for, if you have a core line, you are focused on consistency. Yeah, and absolutely. I think probably one of my most controversial opinions is it is really easy to make amazing one-offs. Like, if I didn't have to focus on consistency, I think, no, like, you could knock it out of the park. But making something good day in, day out, and especially when you're wrangling natural processes like fermentation and barrel aging and water quality and blending, that's hard.
Yes.
But it also can get really repetitive. And so our distiller's cuts are one-offs. Those are those chances to be like, we have a different malt bill, we have a different barrel profile, we have different finishes, and we'll make 500 to 600 bottles, sometimes 700, and we never make them again.
Wow.
And to me, I think I had mentioned earlier, this beautiful marriage of art and science. The operations manager at my first distillery would always tell people on a tour, whiskey making is 70% science, 30% magic. And a lot of that magic comes in the barrel, and a lot of that magic comes in the blending and that artistry. And so we always want to be able to showcase what you can do. Because the thing that I love is American single malt, it's 4 ingredients. You have malt, yeast, water, barrel. But in those 4 ingredients, there's almost an infinite amount of flavor profiles you can derive. And so we want to be able to explore that while simultaneously being anchored in that idea of, you pop a bottle of ours, you pour it, and you go, yeah, I know that's Whiskey Del Bac.
Right. And because I can tell you, obviously, I've been following you guys for a long time. I have a couple of buddies who live in Tucson. One of them, he's there. I feel like he's there all the time. And when the Sentinel first came out, he met me. We're whiskey sommeliers, and he went to the whiskey somm class and brought a bunch of Sentinel for everybody to try, because he's like, this is the new thing, you got to have it, so I'm very familiar with the product, but anytime I have it, like, let's say somebody puts it in a blind lineup to me. Now, I will say this, and this is good for both you and this other distillery. It is a little bit, I can tell you from the other distillery, but between you and Santa Fe Spirits, they're similar in profile, but yours, and not to poo-poo anything they're doing at all, because I love everything they're doing. I tried to get Colin on before he retired, but that didn't happen. So whatever. But y'all, I feel like your profile is a lot more rich and cohesive. Whereas sometimes, and not saying anything negative, the smoke profile on the Santa Fe Spirits can be a little more jaggy, just personally. So I haven't done a side by side. I actually was drinking a while back the blend that Lost Lantern did of Santa Fe and you guys' stuff, Flame, and it was absolutely fantastic. And they so but we had a little glitch in the matrix there, so
we did. No, and I love that you bring I love that you bring up Santa Fe because they're actually one of the examples I give of how different profiles can be. Because I'll
Mhm.
be like, try Santa Fe, try us. They are both mesquited American single malts, and they are two completely different beasts.
Yes,
And if you don't like one, you might like the other. Because yeah, I'm with you.
absolutely.
I love what they're doing. It is just,
Mhm.
man, still those four ingredients, but
Yeah.
just a completely different profile.
And that's the coolest thing about whiskey, especially because like you make a vodka, it's vodka, right? Nobody really cares. It's the catalyst, right? But with whiskey, there's the flavor is so different. You could literally give them your mash bill, which is 100% malted barley, right? So whatever. But you could give them your mash bill, the barrels, all the thing. It's going to taste completely different because terroir, and we can get into terroir if we have to. But the terroir, the distillation practice, like are they putting a little bit more heads in there? Is there a little bit more tails? Are they doing the very fine, just the middle cut? So it just kind of depends upon the distiller, the air around you, the barrel, the humidity in the warehouse, all of the things matter. So it doesn't matter if your mash bill is posted all over everything, because try to recreate it. Just try it, because it's not going to be the same at all.
100%. It's why we will have people who will come on tours and they're like, we're shocked you guys are so open about everything. I said, but it's exactly what you just said. I'm like, I can give you every single thing I do, but you don't have the team I have. You don't have the still that I have,
Right.
and you don't have the aging space that I do.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you might be able to get close,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
but it's not going to be Whiskey Del Bac. And we don't have anything to hide on the other side either. It's like, we want people to understand we are incredibly transparent with our production, right, how we make it. And yeah, it's just also one of the amazing things about making whiskey and making, again, something of a place is if you're purposeful about it and you're thoughtful about it, you can open a bottle and it can take you somewhere. It's funny. I mentioned this gentleman earlier today at work, and we got an email from him. There is a bar owner in Chicago. He owns a bar called Ward 8.
Okay.
And he's from Tucson. And there is always a bottle of Dorado at his bar.
Okay.
And he came by the distillery a couple of months ago, and we showed him around and we were chatting. And he was like, I want you to know there's two things. Said one, the saguaro, the cactus we have on the label, said is evocative for everyone. He's like, I will have people who will come into the bar and be like, oh, what's that? What? That looks really dark to be a tequila. And he can be like, oh, well, this is the single malt. He said, and the other thing is that bottle of Dorado smells and tastes like home. It's like, I open that and I'm home. And I'm like, that is just like, that shatter my heart. Like,
absolutely. And man, that sucks, because that was one of my questions, and you're ruining it. You're ruining my whole lineup now. I'm done with you. No,
that's it. We're done.
No, we're done. No, it was not the last question, but it was one of it. Do you think that whiskey can be used as a tool for storytelling in the same way books and music are? I see that you have some guitars in the background. I am a music nut. I love music, all different kinds of music. Do you feel that whiskey can be used as a tool for storytelling?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. It's scent and taste are so fundamentally tied into memory.
Absolutely.
And again, like when I love when we get good reviews, and I love when we win medals, and that's amazing. But like the things that stick with me, the things that resonate are those moments where we connect with someone's story. And it's such a massive honor and just like humbling every single time I hear about it. Again, him telling me when I open this bottle, I'm home. At my last distillery in Maryland, we made what we called our caraway rye. And so it was a Maryland rye base with caraway seeds in the fermentation and the distillation. It was very similar to an aquavit, but just, we had a guy come in one day and he poured a sample and he tasted it. And like, you just saw him staring off into space. And I was like, hey man, is everything okay? And he's like, I'm 10 and I'm sitting at my abuela's counter and she's baking bread. And like that, like, yeah, whiskey and spirits and flavors can be used to create these stories and can tell stories of where they're from.
Absolutely.
And it's, yeah, I 100%. You will never find me disagreeing that whiskey can tell a story.
Absolutely. Because I mean, just you saying that kind of gave me chills. Like, because of that, because of the simple fact that, like, man, I mean, there's so much out there for us. And we tie sensory, obviously, we tie that to a memory. Because if I say this smells like bacon jam that I had on a pretzel, well, you didn't have that, so you don't know. It's just, it's every sensory thing is tied back to a memory of the thing that you had, and then it goes back to a good or a positive or negative response to that. So, like, personally, I hate Brussels sprouts. There's a reason I hate Brussels sprouts, because my mom made me try them one time and they were gross, and she made me eat the whole thing, and I said, I'm never eating Brussels sprouts again. That's. And so, like, inherently, my wife loves Brussels sprouts. So she'll cook Brussels sprouts, and I'm literally, I'm gagging, because it's an inherent response to that. And it is so cool that not just whiskey, obviously, but anything can bring you back to a thing. And if you can, it involves a story as well. So that's what makes the whiskey community and the whiskey making part and the whiskey talking about part so cool. Because we can sit over one dram. I mean, we could literally only talk about Dorado all night, and I'd be totally fine. But we got to move on. But I also, it just showcases you guys' passion and your drive to try to make a product that, like you said, you have these one-offs, which we're going to get into a couple of those. You have these one-offs, and I don't mean one-off in a bad way. I mean one-off in a good way. Right. You have those, but then, like, your core has to be your core. Now, I wanted to ask you a question. So you said you were using smaller profile barrels, and I also had heard through the grapevine that you don't really care so much about an age statement. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's changed in a positive way in the industry, I feel, because for a long time you would say things like small format, or we use the much more romantic quarter cask, but we do all of our initial aging in 15-gallon barrels.
Okay.
And it was initially kind of like a lot of craft distilleries, a function of necessity. You will hear, and I will even fight my own tour guides on this. You will hear people say smaller barrel means faster aging, and that's not true. Smaller barrel means faster extraction. Extraction,
exactly.
And we started with the smaller barrels, like at Boot Hill, we started with smaller barrels for that same reason of, like, if we can get a good quality product to the market, that helps sustain us. And then the initial goal eventually with Whiskey Del Bac was to get to 53s. But we got really good at making whiskey in the smaller format barrels. And again, it's a testament to the provenance. So we do have these 30 to 40 degree shifts in a single night. And so, like, I can leave in the winter is a good example. I can leave my house and my truck has frost on it.
Right.
And I can go home and it's 75 degrees. And just in those 24 hours, we have this really aggressive push and pull. And so it comes back to being purposeful across every aspect. So when we do our mash in, we steep our barley at a higher temperature to increase our tannin profile. We use a yeast that's specifically bred for 100% malt and high temperature fermentation. Our first 24 hours are done at 85 degrees Fahrenheit. We then go down to 80. Like, it is, and it builds these beautiful tropical notes. Like, I tell people our wash kind of at the end of fermentation tastes like a Hefeweizen. You have these beautiful banana and stone fruit and pineapple notes in it. I've always balked this term, but we do the hearts of the hearts. Like, when you go into 53-gallon barrels, you want a little bit of the heads. You want tails, because what is a flaw in new make is it sits for 3, 4, 10, 12 years in a full-size barrel. It esterifies, it oxidates, it creates what are flaws become these very beautiful notes. We can't do that. in small format barrels, especially in the desert,
Right.
because going back to that fast extraction, like if we let it sit too long, it's going to taste like permanent marker. It's going to pull all those tannins out. It's going to get over oaked. And so we are very judicious with how we make our cuts. And then we are very judicious with when we harvest. Like we'll start sensory at 10 months.
Oh,
The
wow.
longest we're going to let anything sit in that barrel, because we always say we're inspired by Scotch. So 100% malt, off-grain fermentation, double copper pot distillation. Where we break with that is going into brand new medium plus toast, number 3 char American white oak, quarter casks.
Quarter cast, right.
And so if we let that sit past 18 months, we get that over extraction. And so and I've always taken umbrage to age equals quality. And I think one thing we've tried, and I think we've succeeded in a really positive way, is showing one way is not inherently better than the other. It's what you are setting out to do.
Right.
And if you are thoughtful and purposeful, you can create these amazing and complex spirits. And I've never been one to go super deep and put too much on awards or scores, but I get defenses sometimes, and like you'll see we lose people on the tour with the small barrel. I'm like, I don't know, we have a cabinet full of double golds and platinums in there. And if you'll forget the story, this is one of my favorite. I'll probably never stop telling this story.
No, please do.
We had a relatively influential bartender come through about a year ago. Very well known, brilliant, out of state, very influential. And we were excited to have him through the distillery. And we're going through and we're doing the tour. And he was very engaged until we got to the barrels. And you could tell as soon as we talked about the small format barrels and those shorter age statements, we lost him. Like you could just see that focus was gone. And I'm like, I get it. We'll get to the tasting. And so we finish the tour, we sit down and we start the sensory. And we pour the classic, the Dorado, the rest of them. And he goes through and takes his Glencairn and he kind of swirls and goes in. His eyes get wide. And he pulls back and he goes back and he goes, 12 months. He said, 12 months. He's like, 12 months. 12 months, man. There are more people who are understanding now that you can have amazing quality in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
But again, you can't do the same thing. So like if I was producing whiskey for a 53, I wouldn't make the cuts I make for a 15 and vice versa. Like if you took our new make that we make for our 15-gallon barrels and put it into a 53, it's going to be over oaked in 2 to 3 years because you don't have the heads, you don't have the tails, you don't have those compounds that are going to change. And so we will always be open with people, the age of our whiskeys. We don't want to hide them, but for better or for worse, there is kind of still this attitude. We got a delivery of malt today and the truck driver was like, yeah, so the older it is, the better it is, right? Sometimes.
And that's why we're here. That's why we're talking, so that we can inform people that no, that's not exactly the case. In some instances, yes, the older it is, the better it is. If you're in Scotland, normally, now I've had some really good 5-year-old scotches, but normally the older it is, the better it's going to be. The more complex it gets, the more smooth it is. But so is there a reason that you guys didn't use used casks?
So, one of the things was just Stephen really liked the profile at first, just utilizing new oak. It was easier to get your hands on small casks new. And over time, I think it just kind of became this point of pride of we are inspired by Scottish single malt. Like that is what we look to as our inspiration. But then being able to create something different, being able to create something that is is set apart from that. And the romantic poetic side of me is like, no, that is this beautiful chance to create something new. And I stand by that. And then the more crass commercialized side of me is also, we've been able to use new oak to convince bourbon drinkers to try single malt. And I think that's amazing. Like, we will have people who come in, they're like, I don't like Scotch. My buddy likes Scotch, or my wife likes Scotch. She's the one that brought me in here.
Right.
I'm a bourbon guy. And we'll be like, try it.
Just try it. Yeah.
Because of the use of that new oak, you do get more of that barrel characteristic.
Mm-hmm.
You get those vanillas, you get those tannins and those beautiful, like, coconutty lactones. Mm-hmm. And you still do get that distinct malt-like flavor. Mm-hmm. And so for us, it has just kind of been like, no, I think we're in this beautiful space where we've made something that we feel is very, very good, inspired by this history. Now, that's also not to say that we don't reuse barrels. Right. I do have some second and even third use of our own barrels that I filled with our new make.
Oh, wow.
We use that as a blending tool. When you go into used oak, that grain character comes forward much more aggressively. You don't get those heavy tannin notes. It's one of the reasons, Scotch, it's going to sit for 10, 12 years, right, because you're going into used cooperage and because you don't have those temperature fluctuations and you don't have the dryness that you have in the desert.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Before we move on, I'm thinking we go to Frontera.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. I knew we were driving with that. So tell us a little bit about this one, because this one intrigues me. And now this is an annual release, correct?
Correct. So this comes out every spring.
And it is finished in sherry, correct?
Pedro Jimenez sherry butts.
Love that.
So we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier of, again, making whiskey is factory work. It is repetitive. And in the past, we've done our distiller's cuts, but we would also have people who would request things. They'd be like, hey, I really liked distiller's cut summer 18. And you think of like, well, is there things we can revisit? And one of the changes I made when I came into the distillery is, and no one's really forgiven me for this, I pulled our distiller's cuts back to be distillery exclusives. We used to distribute them, and I was like, I'd like for there to be a reason for people to come visit us.
Absolutely.
The Global Cask Collection, which is Frontera, which is our Pedro Jimenez finish, and then Normandy, which has been blended, is actually getting bottled next week, comes out in the fall. That's our Calvados finish.
Oh, yes, please.
That's our highest rated. This is our second highest rated. So the Frontera has a 93 from Whiskey Advocate. It got a platinum from the TAG Las Vegas Global Spirits Awards and was runner-up for Best in Show. It for a long time. So this is our fourth batch. Yes, fourth batch. This is the first time we've added smoke to it. For a long time, it used our classic base, which was unsmoked. And the more I've thought about, again, evoking the Sonoran Desert and creating a way to bring people to where we are, the mesquite smoke is one of the most efficient ways to do it. And so
absolutely,
there's actually 1% of our mesquite smoke blended into this.
Okay.
So finished in Pedro Jimenez.
I can't even tell you. Obviously, you don't know my background, but I got into whiskey with Scotch. So most people are bourbon. I love bourbon. Don't get me wrong. I love a good sticky bourbon, but there's something about a single malt. And then when they sherry finish it or port or whatever, some sort of finish on it, it just attach. I don't know. It's something, it hits my soul. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'd have to go check in my cabinet. I think I have batch 3. So I cannot wait to do a side-by-side of batch 3 and batch 4. Because, they are going to be inherently different. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we try to get relatively consistent.
Right.
But yeah, they come out, they're super limited runs. Typically, we do between 1,400 to 1,600 bottles of each of the releases.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, and that's why I was really excited for this year's, because I am a smokehead and I also understand I have to temper my taste
Right.
to
The
what's
masses.
Exactly. What's the joke? There's two wolves inside of you.
Yeah.
I would say
Which
there's
one
two
do I
wolves.
pick today? Yeah.
One is pure artistic distilling creativity, and the other is I still have a mortgage to pay.
Absolutely. Like we could go as dark and dank as you want, but like nobody's gonna like it. So let's think about, we got to sell this too. You can't just take the cask home and drink out of it. Like that's the other thing that I guess we could get into now that we're talking about it. Like as an artist, obviously you have guitars and you're very photo and doing writing and stuff like that, being very artistic, not autistic, being very artistic. Like you want to create, and there's so much to create. Like, and I know that this expression is a form of creativity, but like you do have to rein it in, right? Like you can't just be like balls to the wall. Let's go. Let's throw everything at it. Like I have a whiskey down here, and I don't know if you know this brand or not. It's called Crittenden's. It's out of Mississippi, and it is their Stogie batch, and it is finished in 7. I count it 7 different casks. Everything from port to tequila to maple syrup to a Lafroy barrel, like anything you can think of.
Throwing peat in
and peat. I mean, I will tell you, it tastes great. I'm not gonna lie, it tastes good, but like they finished it so much, and I'm like, okay, some of this is gonna get lost. Like there's some of it that's so light and fruity that it's just going to get lost. So how do you reel it in? Like you were saying, how do you reel it in and not just go crazy over, like, I want to make this the most mesquited whiskey ever,
So that's such a great question. So I actually did another podcast earlier today. And
you did?
I did. I was like, I booked 2 podcasts in the same day.
So you're cheating on me. Is that what you're saying?
I am. I'm so
Lord.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. If we can talk off camera of who it was, and I'll see if I'm better than them or not. I'm probably not, because I'm the Beck song loser. It's fine. I'm joking.
No es un partido. No.
Yeah.
No. So, but one of the questions was it was like a rapid fire, and he was like, ice cream flavor, and I said vanilla. He said, really? I said, there is something so beautiful about a well done singular flavor.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, I love a good tiki blend. I love a more is more blend. Like I think it was last year's spring distiller's cut was what I jokingly called my hobo chili, because there were 5 different casks and second use and third use and first use, and it was very beautiful. It was very complex, but everything added something. But to me, there is something really evocative and beautiful about like a crystal bell going, like that, just beautiful, like ringing.
Yes.
And that's where that balance comes in, is like, and we can stretch our legs. Like there will be times that I'm like, no, I want to go big and bold. And I like the way the word you used for bourbon, like gooey, like just like an unctuous, but it's also something that, like, one thing I'm really proud of with our global cask is there are 2 very distinct camps. There are people who love Frontera, and there are people who love Normandy, and never the 2 shall meet. Like, and we have an intern right now, and I was telling him that, and he's in Club Frontera. Like, he is a Frontera, dyed in the wool, and I will admit Normandy's my favorite. I like apple brandy. I like that brightness, and it's like caramel dipped apples. It's just this.
Amen.
I said, but I just told him, I want you to understand how beautiful I think it is that we've made people feel that strongly. And I think with a relatively deft hand, because when it comes to my blending theory and my finishing theory, I still want to taste the whiskey that's under it.
Absolutely.
Like, if I wanted sherry, a sherry bomb, I would go and I would buy a bottle of sherry.
Yep.
Like I want to be able to use it as a tool, the example I use is, and I'm not a painter, but use it like a painter's palette.
Mhm.
Like you want to create something different. You want to create something nuanced, but you still want it to be clear. This is Whiskey Del Bac. This is
Yep.
something that is coming from the desert Southwest. And so I feel as I've gotten older, I've become more pragmatic.
Mhm. Yeah, as we do.
Yeah. And so it's still amazing. And you still want to have those moments where you can go off the wall and you
Mhm.
can create something that is just absolutely bonkers. But I don't know. There's something beautiful in the understated sometimes. I think.
No, you're right. So one of the questions I've been thinking about for a while is, have you ever thought about, I have to go to my notes because, I'm dyslexic and all the things. Have you ever tried anything other than mesquite to smoke your malt just to see what would happen?
At Whiskey Del Bac, not to my knowledge.
Really?
Personally, yes. I have smoked different grains with different woods, but part of it again is coming back to really wanting to evoke the Sonoran Desert. And
absolutely.
one of the challenges of doing things in the desert is there are a lot of things in the desert that hate you and want you to die.
Amen.
And so mesquite, one of the wonderful things about it is it's indigenous and it's not in danger. And so we can use it and we don't have to worry about overusing it. You also have other native plants like ironwood and greasewood and palo verde, and all of the smoke of those are toxic. So we just, by pure survival, we can't use them.
Right. And that kind of goes back into, and not to talk about them again, but like how Santa Fe is using pinyon to smoke some of their stuff. And so like, it's cool, but I'm like, I don't know if that's like, it tastes very medicine-y, like, cause I tried their pinyon, whatever vodka or whatever one time. And I'm like, I don't know if that's safe to drink.
I mean, it's just one of those things of like people way more intelligent than me have figured these things out. And so one of the amazing things about Tucson is the longest continuously settled area of North America. Wow. There have been humans in the Tucson area for, I think, 4,000 or 5,000 years. And so like humans have been surviving here, and humans have figured out the plants that keep them alive and sustain them, and have figured out the plants that kill them. And so like, who am I to buck survival tradition?
No, absolutely. And that gets me back to, this is the Whiskey Shaman podcast, right? So that gets me back to a more spiritual thing. Like I feel like, and I don't know this, but, I've driven through Tucson before, right before COVID hit, literally the week COVID hit, which was spring break. It just happened to be spring break. Me and my family were doing an RV trip, and we went to, Tucson, Tombstone. We did the whole thing. And then we went to the Grand Canyon, and it was such a fun time. I will tell you a story off camera. Well, we could tell it now. We were waiting. We were in Williamsburg, Arizona. Is that Arizona? Williamson. And we were having a movie night. We were in the RV. I was having a dram. I don't think it was DelBac. I'm sorry. I picked a bottle and grabbed it as we were leaving. Anyway, I was having a dram, and my wife had made chili dogs. And you know what? I'm a fat boy, so I ate some chili dogs, right? Needless to say, I was dying. Then a huge storm came, and we had the awning on our RV. The wind blew and broke the awning off, and I'm sitting there. I run outside. As I'm trying to get the awning back up, my pants fall down. I mean, it is cats and dogs are living together. It was craziness. It started raining, then it started hailing on us. Like, it was a horrible experience. I say all that to say this. Tucson, I feel, is very magical, just in the way that it is. And I feel like, obviously, when you have the indigenous people that lived there before, they used it as a sacred ground, and it was very it was a ritualistic place that they would go, and it was, and you see that all around Tucson and the areas around it. I was actually born in Mesa, Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and moved to Texas when I was like 6 months old. So I'm I was born there, but lived in Apache Junction for a little while. Anyway, long story. So I know my way around some Arizona, right? But it's just really cool. Like that whole area is just so wrapped up in folklore and all of the spiritual side of it. And when we talk about spirits, it has to get a little spiritual, unfortunately, because not unfortunately, but because you have to like kind of invoke the spirit of the land, like you're saying with the Sonoma Desert. You want to try and create something that is indicative to that, and it's really cool. And this Frontera, even though it's a one-off, I feel like it's paying very much homage to the Scottish roots that you were trying to go back to, but yet I get that 1%, I get that little bit of smoke coming through, and it really just kind of sets it off. It makes it pop at the very end. I can't thank you so much for just creating this, because you could have just said, no, we're just doing Dorado, it's fine. Yeah, they're fine. We have 3 SKUs, they're fine, right? And that's the whole thing with distilling. You can get as crazy as you want. You can be like Jack Daniels and have 57 SKUs of the same whiskey over and over again, just in, this one's the Sinatra blend. This one's, all the things. Or you can innovate and say, we're going to do something a little bit different. Now, was there any sort of different distillation practice, or was this just a blend that was finished?
It's just a blend that's finished.
Okay. Okay.
We will, as we go through, so I mean, we could get into blending theory and how important blending is, but one of the nice things, honestly, so because we make such narrow cuts and because we age in smaller format barrels, each lot of our barrels is between 12 to 13, 14 barrels.
Okay.
And so we're producing on a 500-gallon system. So we are a small batch, literal batch distillery. And the nice thing about that is we get to sensory every single barrel. When you blend that small and when you age that small, one bad barrel, it can destroy the entire blend. And Nicole Austin, who I'm lucky enough to count as a friend, who is the general manager at Dickel and I think director of whiskeys at Diageo now. Like, yes, Nicole runs whiskey essentially.
She's a big deal.
Yeah, and talking to her about blending theory and do you sensory every barrel, and she tells the story of blending for Dickel where one lot can be 900 barrels.
Oh Lord.
Like there's no way to sensory all of those, so you pull a handful and you can generally assume if a good polling number of those, a good sample size is going to give you an idea of how the lot is. For us, we have to taste every one. And so we will not harvest if it's not ready. But by the same token, if there's some that are like really interesting and very like high quality, we will set those aside for special releases. We do have a private barrel program where as we go through, if there's a barrel that can stand by itself, like one that is like, this takes you on a journey, it's not overly tannic, it's not overly treacly, like we will set that aside. And Stephen, our co-founder, asked me the other day, because I was teaching a blending workshop. He goes, "Oh my God, are we giving away our best barrels?" I said, "Oh, absolutely not."
Yeah.
I'm selfish. I'm going.
Yeah. Well, no, you have to. I mean, you're running a business, like.
I will sell every private barrel that we sell is a beautiful barrel that stands on its own. But I will admit, and I will be speaking of transparency. I'll be like, no, we get to keep that one.
So I will tell you, one of my buddies who lives in Tucson, he actually got to pick up, and I've sampled out all of the bottle because I do have a small Patreon, patreon.com/thewhiskeyshaman. And I sampled, it was batch 7th anniversary. I think it's a bottle store.
The 10th anniversary or no? Oh yeah. The
batch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Batch.
Anyway, and I had a small sip of that as I was sampling it out to everybody. I think there's like, maybe an ounce and a half left in the bottle. I literally just got it last week, but anyway, it's all for a cause, right?
Right.
And it is so interesting how each cask is inherently different from the other. And but yet they all are cohesively the same. They're all, you can tell they're Whiskey Del Bac. But like that one especially the smoke profile was laid back a little bit, but it had a lot of, to me, and of course I had one little sip as I was packing everything, but it had a lot more of the barrel candy to it, to where like it was just really sweet and like I say, unctuous, it is so cool how one barrel is totally different than the other, but yet then you blend them together. And I've had quite a few blenders on here that have said, hey, when you're blending 500 400 barrels at a time, it does get taxing, and sometimes you get palate fatigue and all of the things. But like one barrel can just be like, this one's gold, we got to do something with it. And the fact that you have platinum and you're giving everybody else gold, that just goes to show that you guys are not only, and of course it goes back to the cuts, your distillation practice, it goes back to your fermentation practice, and we can geek out about that as well. But like, and then the barrel that you're using, all of the things go into what makes a good whiskey. Like, there are people out there that make great whiskey, but like, can they consistently make good whiskey on every barrel? And that's where I'm seeing throughout your lineup that they're all a little bit different, but yet they're still just damn good whiskey. And that's where I think that sets you guys apart from some of the others, where they have a spectacular single barrel, but like their blend falls flat a little bit, or maybe it's not up, not really there. Maybe it need a little bit more time, or maybe it need that secondary barrel for a little bit longer. And a lot of people say that finishing whiskey, since we're drinking a finished whiskey, is there to cover up faults. What do you think about that?
It can be. It really can. Like, it's again what goes back to my insistence on not over finishing, because finishing can cover sins. It really can. And to me, and maybe it's because I did come from that bartending background, like I had run a bar program before I was a distiller. I see finishing barrels as ingredients. Like, it's maybe a little bit of, a dash of bitters, or a little bit of a saline solution, a little bit of salt to make it pop. There are certain things we can do, and there's certain levers we can pull as distillers and blenders. And I understand that, because I've heard that too, that like, well, if it's finished, it means it was a low quality batch and you just happened to decide you wanted to cover it up. And there are bad actors. There are people out there that do that. But again, I think kind of as people have moved more towards understanding small format isn't necessarily bad, more people are understanding finishing isn't bad. So you want to know the whiskey that I give to people that I'm like, you want to know what good single malt is? You think you don't like single malt? It's the Balvenie 14. It's the Caribbean cask. It is a rum finished, and it is beautiful. And it's
perfection. It is perfection in a glass.
100% of the time. And like, I gave it to my lead distiller for his 40th birthday. And I was like, I really hope I'm not overselling this. Like, I want you to understand, but like, that is my go-to. Like, you tell me you don't like whiskey, let me pour you this. Right. And he agreed. He's like, no, this is beautiful. And that is a finished whiskey. And I would think you'd be hard pressed to argue the Balvenie 12 is a bad whiskey.
No. Yeah. You're right. And the only thing that kind of gets me with some of those, and this is the whiskey nerd part of me coming out, but like with some of these, especially scotches, and I would say with American single malt too, once it catches a wave, then the next season, that bottle has skyrocketed secondary market or whatever. Like, I know that the Caribbean cask, when I originally bought it, was like $75.
$75.
Now it's 120 or something like that. And I'm like, okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. Would I pick up another one? Absolutely. I actually don't have one. Anyway, speaking of that, but would I pick up another one? Yes. But like, it's almost like, as one of the guys, you're like, man, I don't want people to know about this. This is special for me. I want
to edit that out so we don't talk about.
Exactly. No, but that's the thing. And that's why, and maybe why it's taken, and I don't want to, I'm jabbing, but I'm not jabbing. Maybe that's why it's taken so long for you guys to get on the show. It's because I don't want to showcase a good thing to everybody and then it not be accessible to me, and I don't, I want the world to know about Whiskey Del Bac and all of the other brands that I support, right? I really do. I want the world to know about it, and I want to shout them from the rooftop. But at the same time, like, I also don't want, and I feel like you feel the same way, I don't want the whiskey to change. Mm-hmm. And there are changes going on in the whiskey world right now that, praise the Lord that American single malt is actually a category now. Like, let's go. That in itself is a testament to what I and so many other people, yourself and everybody else, has been toting for 40 years. McCarthy's or whatever.
When McCarthy started, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so like we've been saying, this is a thing, and it's different. It's not Scotch, it's not Irish, it's not this. It's American, and this is ours. It doesn't have to be bourbon's nemesis. It can be side by side with bourbon and be like, we're doing something cool too, and we're just showcasing. Yeah, I know.
A high tide raises all ships. Like,
absolutely, absolutely.
It's so reductive, and I hate it sometimes. And that this, like, we're in a competition with each other.
Yeah, like, no, it's not.
Like, no. If I want a good bourbon, I'm going to go to a bourbon. If I want a good rye, I'm going to rye. If I want a good American single malt, I'm going to American single malt. And like, one of the things that also I love about the category is, I mean, we can kind of harken back to the comparison with us to Santa Fe.
Yes.
They're so different. Yeah. And I get it. Like, we will have people who will come in and they'll taste us and they're like, this is amazing. And we'll have people who will come in and taste it and like, it's not for me. And I'm like, and I get that. And that's fine.
And that's okay.
It'd be so boring if we all liked the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm like, but don't give up on the category.
No.
Like, no. Try Westland, try Westward, try Andalusia.
Absolutely.
Like, try Virginia, try Cedar Ridge. Like, just every single one of those is like McCarthy's. Like, our events director, her background is in wine, and it's been so amazing to be able to share with her the journey of American single malt.
Yes.
Because we have what we call the library, which is a big collection of different spirits we have at the distillery. And, we're talking about how Whiskey Del Bac's ethos and why we do what we do. And she's like, oh, well, so there's nobody making peated American single malt. Oh, I said, oh, but there is. Yes. And so I was able to grab a bottle of McCarthy's, and I'm like, this is where it began. Like, this is the start of American single malt. And then I was able to grab a bottle of Westland, their peat week from like 2018.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And then I was able to grab some of their Solum, which is their Pacific Northwest. And then I could I was able to pull these different examples, and I'm like, let's line these up. And everyone is different, and everyone is nuanced in its own way. And I love that. It's what makes the category so amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what makes the whiskey, right? That's what makes you guys doing your thing. You're staying in your lane, but it's a multi-lane thing. So like, you guys are all going, and you're like, come on guys, the lane's open, let's drive. Because I know, like, okay, being from Texas, we have a Texas whiskey, obviously it's a thing, but not one person, well, maybe one, but not one person is saying you suck, I'm better than you. I mean, there's some rivalries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's all in good fun. But like, when I go to the whiskey festival and I see all of these whiskey people and the head distillers are talking and co-oping and doing all this crap, that's how it's supposed to be. We are not fighting. Okay, we're fighting shelf space, and I'm not trying to poo-poo Heritage whiskey at all, because they have a place. I love Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, all of those guys, but they have 27 SKUs on the shelf at all times. Their whiskey's going to be there no matter what. Craft whiskey is what is coming in, and we're trying to find one spot for one bottle. Just let me at the specs. Let me just put it right there at the Total Wine. Something. Let me get something to where they can see me along with you. We're not trying to step on your toes. You have done whiskey very well for 100 years or more. Let us come in and say, hey, we're doing something a little bit different. It's the same thing, but it's a little bit different. And with going back to Texas, like that just goes, like Texas is trying to do that, but like there's some good players. There's some players that are just in it for the marketing and stuff. And then there's some other players that are like, we don't care what people think. Y'all come to the distillery, like you're saying. I want a distillery exclusive, aka we're getting into the other one, right?
Perfect segue.
Absolutely. Almost like I know what the hell I'm talking about. I want somebody to come to the distillery and have a dram of this is what we do. This is us, aka. And this one, I mean, when I opened the package of this one, I was like, brother, come on. This is the Distiller's Cut Summer 2020. This came out, what, 2 weeks ago?
2 to 3 weeks ago, yeah. It just came out.
So, for one, thank you. And for two, you shouldn't have. But for three, it's an honor for me as a whiskey dude, as a provider of whiskey knowledge, to be able to showcase something that you have at your distillery. And this is your thoughts of what DelBac should be this year. I'm guessing that's how you're putting it. So tell us a little bit about this, and then I have a lot of questions about this particular bottle.
Excellent. So again, the distiller's cuts are a way to be creative. Like, so you talked about like, how do you hold back? How do you stop from just going completely overboard? That's what the distiller's cuts get to be. They get to be this sometimes divisive release. And one thing I have always kind of taken exception with, and I say this as someone who has made gin for their living, someone who loves gin. I've always kind of bristled when people are like, well, whiskey is it's a fall and it's a winter drink.
Right.
And I understand, again, it was 105 today. I understand staring down at the barrel of something this dark.
Right.
And at 113 proof.
113 proof. Yeah.
A little intimidating, but I really think you can have whiskey for every season. And so we have our spring, we have our summer, and we have our fall. Those are the three distillers releases we do every year. And the goal every year has been to create something that evokes that season within the desert. And so the spring tends to be this kind of middle line of a little bit heavier, but still light because the temperatures are starting to warm up. Fall, we're starting to lean into heavy smoke, really rich dessert finishes. Summer's always the big challenge, and summer is also why it's my favorite one to blend, because to blend for a summer whiskey can be very challenging. And so this one is a blend of third use sauternes. So they're sauternes barrels we got. For people who may not know, sauternes is a dessert wine, very rich, very kind of like dripping with honey and grape juice. This is the third time we've used this barrel, so we've pulled back those heavier notes.
Right.
It's not going to be as pronounced and as rich. Speaking of using barrels again, there's 2 second-use barrels in here to let that grain come forward. You're going to notice more of the barley. You're going to get kind of that dusty note. And then finally, there is just a tiny little splash of rum agricole finish.
Oh.
So I'm a sucker for rum agricole. So sugar cane juice as opposed to molasses adds this grassy, fresh, bright, vibrant note. And I do recommend a couple of drops of water in it. It will open it up a little bit more. But even at the 113, it's bright and it's floral and it's not this kind of heavy, weighty across the palate dram.
Wow.
And also lightly smoked again.
Lightly. I mean, it's DelBac. I mean, you gotta.
Right.
I mean, now here's to say, I do love the classic. The classic is really nice. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but like for me, and I don't know if this might be a bias, and tell me if it is. When I think of DelBac, I think of that lightly smoked malt. That's just what I think of. And it's not overpowering. It's not too much. It's not, it's not like eating Band-Aids. It is definitely just something. It's a little smoky, and it's like hot outside. Maybe you were mowing the yard, you got lawn clippings, like it's all of yeah. I don't know. No, but I can, and I mean, this might be me just gaslighting a little bit, but like I can kind of smell that grapey of the sauternes in there a little bit. Like it's very faint. And then the smoke again, it's very faint, but it's just very cohesive. But I get what you're saying with the grain forwardness of the second use barrel. Like it's really, man, wow.
It is. It's one of our more Scotch-like releases. Like this does tread, and it tends to be how our summer releases go because Scotch tends to inherently be a little bit lighter, and so that's kind of maybe by design, maybe by me just and my own bias.
Yeah.
Of like, I don't want to go super heavy oak forward. Again, being able to tweak those levers and being able to kind of play with those different intensities, I think is where you can really shine through.
Right. So that leads me to the next question that I had. What whiskey experiments have you tried that went horribly wrong, but taught you something?
Oh God, that is a great question. You can't oversmoke.
Yeah.
Can't oversmoke. You can finish incorrectly. And again, like learning about different biases, I've learned I'm not a huge fan of tequila finished whiskeys.
Right.
By that same token, for a long time, I was super anti red wine finished whiskey. Like if I saw that it was, and I don't mean, and people be like, oh, but what about Madeira? What about sherry?
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking fortified wines. I'm talking
right.
red wine.
Right.
Pinot Noir, Merlot, Syrah. Like I had not had, in my opinion, a good red wine finished whiskey really ever. And I had played around with it and the sulfur was super pronounced and like you got those kind of competing tannic qualities going with the whiskey. And so speaking of Lost Lantern, I had Lost Lantern's Westland red wine cask finish. Like, oh God, that was 2 or 3 years ago. A friend of mine brought it over and it opened my eyes. Like it just to repeat Saul in the New Testament, the scales fell from my eyes.
Absolutely.
Like it was just this kind of like epiphany of like, oh, this can be beautiful. Like this can be, by the same token, and this was not my experiment, but I'll throw Stephen under the bus a little bit. We will still have people who come and go, oh, so you use mesquite casks or you're putting mesquite wood in. I'm like, no, absolutely not. So when Stephen first started this project, he built his own little mesquite barrels and tried to age in it, and it's terrible. It's just,
absolutely.
Oh God, it's terpene heavy. And it's like drinking. Oh, it's So credit to Stephen for making that mistake before I did.
Yeah.
But it's also like one of the most like probably mediocre failures you can realize is bad blending. Like you can take something that like 3 or 4 barrels or even 2 barrels that you think are going to be beautiful together and you put them together and they're awful. And like they fight each other. They're off balance there. And to me, it's why thoughtfulness is important because there have been, I've never put anything in a bottle that I wasn't proud of. That being said, there have been things I put into a bottle that I've come back to and been like, I don't know what I was thinking when I did that.
Yeah. Well, and that's okay because like that's a learning point in this. And I think, and this is the whiskey nerd in me coming out again with something like the distiller's cut. You want that, like you were saying, one-off. It's a one-off. So like and if you're trying to blend 1,000 barrels, you have a flavor consistency that you have to meet. But if you're trying to do, 5 barrels or whatever this blend was, like it's not that big of a deal that it's a little off of normal profile because that's what you want. You want to have that nuance and that flavor difference. But like, I can get how like as a blender, you're like, I should have, backed off on the whatever. Now, I forgot to ask you this. What is if you can tell me, and if you can't, that's fine. Like your barrel entry proof. Does it vary depending?
So we go in for initial aging at 110.
Okay.
That was one of the changes I was allowed to make when I took over the reins of Whiskey Del Bac. We used to go in at 120.
Okay.
I brought it down to 110 because, again, we have that really aggressive interaction. Right. 110, especially in smaller format, maximizes your water soluble and your ethanol soluble chemicals. You're a whiskey nerd, so the lower the proof, the more candied, vanilla sweet. The higher the proof, the more punchy, tannic. And so 110 was really this beautiful spot, and it maximized our interaction with the oak. And for a long time, that also used to be our entry proof for our finishing barrels. And one day I was standing there and I was staring at a blend we were getting ready to put down on, I want to say it was Madeira. And I was like, what if we just put this in? So we always gain. That's the nice thing.
Right.
We always gain alcohol. It was at 115. And I was like, let's not proof this down. Let's not do this at 110. Let's just take it as it is and let's put it in this barrel and let's see what happens. And it was beautiful. It got to those tannins that maybe we weren't getting at that.
Right.
So typically, ironically, we tend to go now into our finishing barrels at a higher proof that we go in for our initial age.
Okay, cool.
Setting that baseline and then being able to kind of play with that as it goes in. I do have a cognac finishing barrel that I just pulled a little sample of the other day, and it's at 120. And I'm like, you went in at 110. How are you at 120?
Wow. So I'm guessing being at that low of a barrel entry proof, you don't get hazmat barrels or anything like that, or maybe you do. And I mean, with this smaller profile barrels, I could see how you would, but that's a pretty good gain of proof.
So we're averaging pulling out around 114, 115.
Okay.
So we're gaining about 5 proof points per year, give or take. We've had some come out as low as 112. We've had some come out as high as 118.
Okay.
At that older entry proof, we did have the occasional pushing up to 130.
Right.
But going in, doing that shorter aging, we don't really have as much time to really see those super aggressive proof growths. There is a 53-gallon barrel that was filled, I want to say 2018, 2019. So before I was there, it's more than halfway gone. I need to take the proof on that again. I bet that's pretty punchy by this point.
I'm sure it is. I was actually, that was the next thing that was coming into my head was, I know you're doing the smaller profile barrels and all the things. Do you play around with the larger? Because I know that wine and sherry, they use large barrels, even 700 liter barrels if you want to do that. So it's you're trying to maximize your yield. Obviously, you want to get the most whiskey in the bottle, obviously, but you also want it to have the flavor profile that you want. But you're not also fighting age statement. You're not fighting a proof point because you don't care about either one of those. If it's a higher proof, I added a couple drops of water with this. It really opened it up.
It does, yeah.
A lot more of the fruit notes came through, and I'm really liking it. So I would suggest, and I mean, drink it however you want to drink it. And that's the thing with whiskey. Put an ice ball in it. I don't care. Do whatever you want. Just drink good whiskey. But if you're going to do this distiller's cut 25, summer 25, put 1 or 2 drops of water in your glass. It'll really open up those fruit notes and give you a really cohesive you get the finishing, but you also get that baseline of the maltiness of it. So this is the question I've been waiting to ask. We've opened all of the samples that you sent over. And again, thank you very much. So you're stranded in the Sonora Desert with 1 cask and 1 glass and 1 song on repeat. What is the cask and what is the song?
Cask is
it doesn't have to be your whiskey. I just wanted to throw that out.
Okay, so I'm going to be obnoxious. I mostly drink my whiskey.
I would too. I mean, I don't blame you. I would too.
So that my mind immediately goes. So my cask is going to be heavy smoke of ours, finished in Pinot de Charence.
Oh, yeah, please.
So our fall 22 distiller's cut was our heavy smoke finished in PDC, what we call it. It's
BDC.
beautiful. For those of who don't know what Pinot de Charance is, it's basically a fortified new make cognac. Like it's Uni Blanc grapes. It's this beautiful. It's
so good. It's so good.
It's so good. So the heavy smoke finished in the Pinot de Charance, and then you said so the cask, and then the song. Or...
The song, yeah. You're a one song on repeat.
Ooh, okay, so one song on repeat. I am going to go with Leonard Cohen.
Okay.
And ironically, it's not a song, it's more him reading his poem. It's called Recitation.
Okay.
Leonard Cohen has this beautiful recitation of this poem. And it is this just ultimately like vulnerable exposure of love. It is this,
yes.
This is who I am. This is who I've aged and I've become. The repetition, the line is, I'm just another snowman standing here in the rain and sleet with my secondhand physique. And as I've gotten older, as I feel grown as a person, grown as a distiller, recitation, I hear it a lot in my head. And the natural growth and even that natural breakdown as we age,
right,
I think can be beautiful. And I think that's where I would go. I would go with this rich, smoky, sweet, but sometimes maybe harsh whiskey.
Yeah.
This recitation.
Wow. You blew my mind on that one. Now I will tell you, I have asked not this particular question, but a question similar to a number of people, and they picked the same artist. Just to let you know. So, absolutely. So
really,
maybe there's something with that. Maybe I need to get a little bit more. Wow. Yeah. That kind of threw me off because I was expecting Rage Against the Machine or something like that. You know?
It could be Tom Waits. It could be
absolutely.
Punch Brothers.
Absolutely. It could be Cannibal Corpse. Who knows? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other one may be Jason Isbell and If We Were Vampires.
Ooh.
Like another one that just completely shatters me. And
yes.
Again, it's that acceptance. That acceptance of our own mortality, that acceptance of this is limited, and if we can do something to create something beautiful in a tiny moment, like I have a therapist. I've been in therapy for a long time. I highly recommend if you don't have a therapist, good therapists are wonderful. And she asked me once, she was like, end of day, professional, personal, what do you want? What do you, Mark Anton Vierthaler, want? I said, if one person goes, you know, Mark really made me feel better, then I consider that a win. And and that's where I will always come down on, is if even one person, whether it's through whiskey, whether it's through interaction with me or, you know, Whiskey Del Bac or the greater industry, just to be like, yeah, no, I had a really terrible day. And this made me feel better, then that's where I'll die happy if I can do that.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of what we all want. And I have been a proponent of mental health throughout my entire journey through whiskey. I just recently did an entire episode on men's mental health, especially because so many people push that to the wayside and say, you know, because the old adage, and this might be sexist or call it what you want, but buck up and deal with it, man. Quit crying, quit being that guy, you know, just get to work. It's not a big deal. Stuff it down and don't worry about it until you're a drunk, divorced, and you know, beating your wife or whatever. Your kids are gone, your life is in shambles, and you're like, oh, if somebody would have just sat down and listened to me for 5 minutes and let me express my feelings and understand that, like, you are loved and that you are, you know, like, and I think if more people talked about that, and that's kind of it's funny that we're talking about this. It's kind of how this podcast is turning. And I'd love to talk to you more off camera about this. That's kind of how this podcast is turning, because like whiskey's great. I love everything you guys are doing.
Yeah.
This is all fantastic, but it's real lives that are being affected, and real lives that we have to deal with. Like me talking to you right now, you're taking time away from your family, your life, you could be taking a shower and getting ready, like doing all your things. And I appreciate it, obviously, but like it's all of the things where we're like it's just in that moment is trying to be so real and take that for what it is and not just push it aside. Because as a man, it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to be it's okay to be not okay.
Right.
And I love that what you said about being in therapy, because I've been in therapy for a long time. Obviously, you can kind of tell, but it's also one of those things, like when you're self-reflective, it helps you be a better father, husband, man, a person in the world, a steward to other people. It helps you be better at yourself. And I really love that you were able to open up about that, because it struck a chord with me, because I feel like if more people talked about that, it would be a lot easier. So I have something that I thought was kind of cool with mesquite smoke. Do you think that mesquite smoke captures a kind of ancient memory? Like, does it whisper something prehistoric into the whiskey?
I think it does.
I think it does.
So Stephen and I and the team at Whiskey Del Bac, we try to be very conscientious. So as you know, there's a very loaded history of Indigenous Americans and alcohol and colonialism, and like all of these things kind of come together into this storm of complexity and intergenerational and interracial relationships. And so one of the things that I'm really proud of and that I love about our name is trilingual. So Whiskey Del Bac, whiskey obviously English, Del Spanish, but Bac is Tohono O'odham, which is the indigenous tribe that was in this area, one of several. And Bac means place where the water reemerges in the sand.
Oh, Lord.
And so we are whiskey of the place where the water reemerges in the sand. And so I get goosebumps every time I think about
that. You gave them to me, dude.
And it's this beautiful through line, that this shared human experience, and mesquite has been used to sustain people in this area for multiple millennia. They use the wood to cook. They use the pods to grind into flour. They use it for shade. They use, like, it is this very fundamental building block of life in the desert. And we hope, like, we do our best, we try, and to be conscientious of that and to pay it that respect, with that knowledge that, we're interlopers in this land.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, I think that's part of what makes Tucson amazing, and part of what makes the Sonoran Desert amazing is, Tucson was the first UNESCO city of gastronomy in the United States.
Wow.
And it is because it is this marriage of American and Mexican and indigenous culture. And mesquite is such a fundamental part of that. It is so core to the survival that to be able to take that essence and put it into something that is not necessarily essential, but celebratory, or
a luxury.
Yeah, exactly. A luxury. And so, yeah, I think there is something to be said about that. And it is part of the reason that Whiskey Del Bac, I think, resonates with people, is it has created this sense and this place, or at least not created it, but I hope integrates as a part of it.
Right. Wow. I didn't know if that question was going to hit, because, like, when you're thinking, like, and this is behind the scenes stuff, but like I'm sitting here thinking about the podcast and I'm thinking about what questions I want to ask, but like I don't want to be like stereotypical, like where'd you grow up, where's all the like all the things. So like I try to come up with different things to talk about, and like some of them I'm like, I don't know, that just sounds kind of lame, but like that really evokes an emotion of like history, and that's what whiskey is all about. Whiskey is about the history in a glass, and it's about
Exactly.
Storytelling, like we were talking about earlier, storytelling for people that can't storytell anymore, and carrying on that lineage, which the heritage brands do very well. You look at the back of the bottom, we've been doing this since 1842, blah blah blah.
Right.
Like, but with newer craft distilleries, you have to have that in the bottle. It has to showcase in the bottle, and it has to showcase in I'm not trying to toot our horn, I'm saying our horn. It has to showcase in shows like this, where we are showcasing, this is what Tucson tastes like. I'm sorry, this is what it tastes like. Like, I don't know. It's really intriguing to me that, you can put something in a bottle, give it to somebody, and their visceral reaction of it takes them back to the time, place, and setting of something. And that just goes to show a good distiller doing cool things and a great brand. So, is there a flavor that you guys have been chasing that you never quite got yet? Something that haunts your palate, like a desert mirage? I'm bougie, I'm sorry.
Ooh, no. Very evocative. I like that.
And this is the last question, I promise.
Yeah. No. That is great. That is so, kind of playing off what we just talked about. There is this mysticism, maybe for lack of a better word, in Tucson, in the Sonoran Desert, that it is something that just is so fundamental and human about this area. And again, we lean into the mesquite aspect, like into this idea of it sustained people for generations. It is the smell of Tucson, but it's not just mesquite,
right?
Like, it's having made botanical spirits at my last two distilleries and then specializing in whiskey. It's something that I've seen a lot of other distillers in Arizona do. Workhorse Rye, Rob, he does an amazing job with like ancient grains, and he has these cocktail bitters that utilize wild foraged botanicals and botanicals that are grown at the Mission Farm at San Xavier Del Bac, and Suncliff Gin. Like, they're foraging wild juniper up in Sedona, and they're taking these botanicals. And so, to me, maybe not chasing and looking for it, but being a part of the tapestry of those flavors of the desert Southwest, because it wasn't just mesquite. Like, there were so many other indigenous plants and fruits and vegetables, like los milpas, so the beans and the corn, and like it is one part of this grander vision of what makes the desert Southwest the desert Southwest. And I would love to do like a Jennifer style gin, like take our new make from our malt, do wild foraged botanicals, and bring those in.
Amen.
It's yeah, God, that's such a good question. I love it. It's this town and this city and this area is so dialed into flavor. And like, it's one of the reasons my wife and I, again, like, we met and we bonded and we got married around food and flavor.
Amen.
Drink. Yep. And like, Tucson is such an amazing, if you'll forgive a pun, distillation of that, of all these amazing histories coming together in flavors. And, again, like I say, if not chasing it, then if we can be a part of it, then I think we've succeeded. And I think
absolutely
we've gone above and beyond what we set out to do.
I couldn't have said it better myself, because going through your lineup, and this is just a part of you guys' lineup. Like, okay, so last question, and it's not even a question. Where can people find Whiskey Del Bac, if they want to buy a bottle or if they want to visit the distillery or so, I'll have it all linked down below. You guys know this, but how do we get a hold of a bottle? I mean, do we have to start a podcast and we have to like hound you for a year to come on the podcast? I mean, do we have to do that, or can you actually buy it in store?
I feel like there are easier ways. Yeah.
I feel like there are.
So again, the Distiller's Cuts, those are Arizona exclusive. So if you're in Arizona, we can ship it to you. You can come to the distillery. We're happy to hook you up. We are distributed in 23 states right now. Okay. That's mostly going to be our core stuff. So Classic Dorado and the Sentinel. Otherwise, we have several partners that can ship across the country. We're partnered with Big Thirst out of Texas, and we fulfill out of California. You can get a fair amount of our products through that. I think they ship to 45 states, something like that. So if you do want to find us, you can. But 80% of our business is still here in Arizona. We are an Arizona brand. We're easier to be found in California and Nevada as well. We are in Texas, but really in Texas, you can get Classic and Dorado. So
right. Shout out to Mike McGinnis at Big Thirst. He's doing some cool stuff. I actually did a whiskey blind tasting with him. He's like the head guy at Big Thirst. So he's a OG and he knows craft. He knows what you guys are going through. He knows how to get it out there. So you can get the product that you need. So I will have all that linked down below. I don't know if you have any socials or Whiskey Del Bac has any socials to add to that.
Yeah. So if you want to see what Whiskey Del Bac is up to, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We don't do what used to be Twitter. All at Whiskey Del Bac, all one word. If we also really recommend go to our website, sign up for the newsletter. Yep. Newsletter is where you're going to find out, first and foremost, special releases, events we have going on. We have an amazing sales team. We have an amazing events team. Like, we, again, do what we can to try and be as involved as we can in the community. If you want to follow me, I'm at Whiskey Icarus with no E. I mostly post memes and occasionally will post like whiskey education. In general, as I've gotten older, I've gotten less on the socials. So.
Hey, I understand that. I was on TikTok for a hot minute and I was like, I'm not dancing. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm not dancing. You don't want to see this dancing. I'm sorry.
I've officially hit grumpy old man where I stare at my phone. I'm like, I don't know how this works. I'm going to stop using it.
I'm going to press the button. Now turn this off. Yeah. Exactly. No, I mean, I don't understand it, but you know, they're doing a thing. Let them do their thing. But yeah, absolutely. And they're blowing up. Evidently, it's a big deal. So, Mark, I can't thank you enough. This has been amazing. I feel like there could possibly be a part 2 going on because I feel like we barely broke the coconut open to see what's inside. Because I'd love to get more background from you personally. And I just feel like there's a lot more to uncover. But that's for another episode. I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me and hang on real fast. I want to talk to you, but y'all be good. Make sure you drink water. We've been drinking water all night. It's hot out right now. It is now down to 85.9 degrees in the shed, just to let you know. The sun has set a little bit, so we're getting a little cooler in here, but y'all be good. I'm sweating for y'all guys. It's all for you. So just understand that, please. But y'all be good. And until next time, keep your spirits up. Peace out.